Well, hello everyone, and welcome to another brand new episode of Dunswell Zoo. I apologise for the delay on this one, obviously with the arid pack and the update. Things were put behind, and this build was a little bit of a pain in the ass. It went through several iterations, and it's a really big build, so hence the delay. And you'll see the food court and the monorail, those are the two areas we're working on in this episode. So let's get stuck in. So usually I do the speed builds on between 600 and 800 times faster than it was recorded. These ones are 900 times faster. There's that much footage. Excuse me, there's that much footage. There's that much work what's gone into this that I couldn't do like an hour and 20-minute episode. It had to be condensed. So this is what we've got, and it goes through several design iterations because it doesn't turn out how I wanted it to turn out. So we're working with quite a square space, and initially I was okay with that, and then partway through I was like, it's a bit boring, and eventually we sort of work it into our favour. But I've kept my first two attempts in the footage because I want you to see that it didn't go to plan the first time, it didn't go to plan the second time, but the third time things started to take shape and ideas came into reality, and we've got a finished product that's as close as I'm gonna get right now, which I'm really happy about. So yeah, obviously the Arid pack came out, and I hope you've all been enjoying that. If you haven't, then now would probably be a good time to go get it. It's available with up to 75% off, I think, on the Steam workshop. I'm not 100% sure if the Arid pack is included in that or not. I can't see a reason why it wouldn't be, but you know, if you haven't picked it up, now would be a good time to pick it up. The animals in it have excellent quality. I'm not really disappointed with any of them, in all honesty. I think the one I'm probably most disappointed about would be the Somali wild ass, and that's purely because it looks better in the images than it does in game. That's the only thing I can say about it. Now here you're seeing a second attempt where I'm trying to get a sort of rounded staircase. That doesn't happen. And putting some tables down, because my initial idea was to have the conservation station and the food retailers on the inside, and then have the seating around the outside. Unfortunately, things don't work out that way. I'm having trouble with the grid here for some reason, so I abandoned this idea as well. It honestly did my head in, this build, but I'm glad that we're going to be moving on to animal habitats again. So it's done, it needed to be done, and I'm happy with the end result. So what else can I say? Yeah, nothing was connecting up, just the paths, the grids. It wasn't having it. I was trying for ages. There we go. And then I just have to move that in, but it doesn't matter because I don't stick with this idea anyway. Nothing's working. Yeah, in total this build took about a week, with the exception of like 2 days, because one day I went shopping and the other day I had a date. So yeah, it took 5 days, 5 full days, from like waking up until pretty much like going to bed. I was just working on this build, and yeah, it paid off in the end, I think, but probably one of my worst building experiences in Planet Zoo. Anyway, the whole point of the food court is it's this hub of food and drink and the conservation station. As soon as you step off the monorail in the Australia zone, or once you've come out of A Night Down Under, you've got this hub. And I wanted it to have an Australian theme, a distinctly Australian theme, but I also wanted, you can see that happening here, I also wanted the shipping containers for this sort of upcycled, repurposed feel, because that was in the Tanami Roadside Zoo scenario map, and I really, really liked it. And throughout the Australia zone, we've got these shipping containers. You know, we've got some near the dingoes, and we've now got the food court here, and I really like how it turned out. This doesn't stay, don't get attached. This was going to be the template for the conservation stations. They were going to look the same throughout the zoo, but I decided that the conservation station took up too much space in this instance, so it goes. Just putting the shipping containers in. Decided to build it on the grid rather than putting in the individual blueprints for the shipping containers. This restaurant actually is one of the few things that stays between the designs. I always wanted a restaurant that overlooked the wallaby habitat, which is the next episode, the wallaby habitat. So that restaurant has a balcony on the back with seating, and you can sit out there and watch the wallabies. So just putting the shipping containers down. Ultimately though, I'm not satisfied with it. I don't like how it looks, so I start again from scratch. But we work with the fact that the shipping containers are rectangular and the space we're building in is on the grid and it's rectangular. We use that to our advantage. I think so anyway. Maybe you would differ. So yeah, the plan here was to have like a central seating area and then food and drink around the outside and then seating around the outside of that. That changes. I don't like how it looks. Should be changing again any minute now. It's the final version. Apparently not. Here we go, I'm removing everything now. So we start again from scratch. So here we are. This is the version that we stick with. So we've got our shipping containers around the outside, and then there's this extended canopy that creates this sort of open corridor, if you like. So there's access to the shops and there's access to the seating courtyard, but there's no doors. It's just open. So I quite like how it turns out, and we do also go a story up as well, just because we want to make the most use of the space as possible, and I didn't want a really big flat building again after the Night Down Under Nocturnal House. So we make it nice and interesting, and it's got different sort of colours, and some bits jut out, some bits don't. There's balconies, there's walkways. I like how it turns out in the end, and hopefully you will too. Just putting some planters in here now. and initially I was going to do the staircases up the back, but we ended up doing ramps on the front. Changing the path and then deleting it because I couldn't see the invisible path. Planters. I just sort of dart around. When I'm getting frustrated with something, then I move on to something else. Here we go. So we go for a ramp at one side and stairs at the other to start with, because I wanted like wheelchair access and stuff like that. But it doesn't look right having stairs at one side and a ramp at the other, so we just do 2 ramps because it's just easier that way. I don't know why that stopped. Why is that stopped? There we go. Yeah, I couldn't get that to correct itself. There's some weird texture things going on here. But it is what it is. It's not a major issue. So we'll go for this ramp using Hexabit's path mod. It's the brown earth ramp. Well, it's the brown earth path, and I've made it into a ramp. Here, just adding some details, changing things up a bit, getting rid of that. Just flatten that. Get rid of the old framing. And we're putting our shops in, I believe. Yep. Again, had some difficulty with it snapping into places it shouldn't be snapping. Put that as a toilet, and I changed this into a little ATM area. We don't actually have any of them in the zoo, because the zoos and wildlife parks that I've been to, I think I've maybe seen 1, possibly 2 ATMs. It's not a fairly common thing. At least not from my experience anyway. So putting the path in here, making sure it all connects up so people can walk in and out, yada yada yada, all that good stuff. And I think, if anything, what I've learned from this is put your path covers down last. So here, doing the balcony. So we've got our second story. Putting the balcony in. Nothing special, just grid glass pieces. And then here I discover we have some issues with the floor. There we go, it wasn't quite lining up properly. And then we copy this over and correct that. Then extend this. That wouldn't snap into place, I just had to copy it over and then delete the excess. Same goes for that. And then we change this design again, actually. There we go. But yeah, I like how it turns out. It's nice in the end. Putting the signage up now. And then we're going to start adding some colour into the build. So we go for a nice green sign with a sort of grey framing. Again, using the shipping containers. And I've put a sloped barrier on the ramp. Custom made. I think this is how they did it in the Arid Pack trailer, where I was absolutely adamant it was a new path. I think that's how they did it, with the glass pieces and the Indian architecture, making things nice and colourful. This orange shipping container is to look over the wallaby habitat. Go for a sort of aquamarine minty colour on that one. Pink on that one. And then we go for yellow on this one. And there's some toilets up there as well. Adding some glass in for the windows, because there wouldn't be windows otherwise. And it struggled on these corner pieces. I think it was because there was very little in the corner. Adding some plants now. Again, keeping that Australian theme in, that Australasian theme in. Although, to be fair, the two animals we've got left are Australian. It's three animals, technically. It's the Australian sea lion, the red-necked or Bennett's wallaby, and the swamp wallaby. So, keeping these sort of dry, yet equally lush sort of planting vibes was somewhat difficult, more difficult than you'd think, but we managed to achieve something, which is fine. And I'm just putting a little bit of a trim, if you like, on the end of that path and under the barrier, just to finish it off. It just makes it look a bit nicer. I carry that on around the outside. Copy it over, line it up. Now this was another nightmare. So I wanted stairs here to cover the sloped path. I tried a couple of different iterations of custom stairs and nothing was clicking. Nothing was really working for me. It didn't look right. Couldn't get equal spacing. So in the end, we just do ramps. One side was going to be a ramp anyway. It was going to be stairs, ramps. So we just do ramps, because sod it. Why not? Might as well. It does look really nice though, to be fair, when it's finished. It's not like a lesser thing. It looks very sleek. I even put a railing in the middle. Not that one though. Yeah, we go for that one. Copy that over, line it up. Same story. Copy it over, line it up. The only thing we had with this one was that lip. Putting the seating in for the restaurant. Removing, or changing rather, the barrier for the wallaby habitat. Linking the tables, changing the colour of the deck. Then barriers again. Just go for that same modern glass on the grid. Twilight mason work. We encountered some Z fighting here. I could not fix it for the life of me. So we have to move the bricks outside rather than underneath. It doesn't look too bad. I can live with it. Yeah, it looks alright, doesn't it? I'm not too bothered about that. Then we go for this sort of angled piece here. Finishes it off nicely. Putting some framing on the restaurant. Planting, of course, just that little square there. I wanted something that created shade, but everything was too big, so we went for that instead. Moving on to the monorail now. I had a very clear vision for the monorail, and it's turned out exactly how I wanted it to turn out, which was this sort of wavy, concave sort of roof in the Dunswell Zoo colours. We do change the colours. And open monorail station, not closed like the one in the Australia house, because that's of course a temperature controlled building, whereas this isn't, it's outdoors. Conservation station then. This was difficult. I tried to fit a sign up on the roof, it blocked the graphics in the background, so we just do this thing on the front. Nothing fancy. Doesn't particularly need it, this one, so just bunged it in there. And then add in the supports for the roof for the monorail, because that's something I forgot to do earlier on. And then I think next is the cinematics, so I shall be quiet and I shall leave you with the cinematics. Thank you very much for watching. Please remember to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. Really helps me out, helps the channel grow. That can only be a good thing. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at JW_YT. Until then, my friends, stay safe, stay kind, and I shall see you all next time for the Wallaby Walkabout. Enjoy, and bye-bye for now.